Now that we've seen in general what learning analytics is, an attempt to answer questions about teaching and learning using data, we've also observed a bit of the history of learning analytics at Michigan, watching it emerge with grading amidst a larger, early 20th century effort to infuse quantification into the social sciences. But we've also noted that the current learning analytics movement is something quite new. The phrase itself only entered regular use in 2011. So what is this new topic? An effective and widely accepted definition for learning analytics emerged in 2011 as part of the first International Learning Analytics and Knowledge Conference, LAC 2011. The definition goes like this. Learning analytics is the measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of data about learners and their contexts for the purpose of understanding and optimizing learning and the environments in which it occurs. It's a very good definition, and it's well worth picking apart. This definition begins with measurement. Modern learning analytics is possible because education takes place in an increasingly instrumented world. Just as in all of science, instruments extend our experience. They see more than any one of us could ever directly experience. So measurement is at the core of learning analytics. Given measurements, our definition continues with collection and analysis. Information technology is really tireless in its ability to collect and remember data. It records faithfully whatever is measured for as long as we need it. It also helps us to analyze things, to draw inference from data sets which are too large or too complex to personally encounter or precisely comprehend. So collection and analysis are both supported by information technology. Skipping a bit, we come to the part of the definition that is the target of learning analytics: data about learners and their contexts. What is this data? In this course, we're going to focus on student record data. But in principle, the data available for learning analytics is anything that instruments can measure. This is more than we can sense and goes beyond numbers and categorical labels to include things like text and images and video. So data doesn't have to be a simple, quantifiable thing. It can be as rich as you like. Who are the learners in this definition? Well, obviously they're students, both on campus and off. But students aren't the only learners on campus. The learners can also be faculty and staff members who are examining how what they do affects teaching and learning. In some sense, the learners are anyone who's concerned with higher education. Why mention context? Too often, attempts to quantify learning imagine that learners are all the same, that they're somehow interchangeable parts who will respond to repeated treatment in a reliable way. Context, for me, signals personalization, a recognition that each learner in each environment is unique, and that effective education must always strive to be sensitive and responsive to difference. We draw to the close of this definition with a statement of the goal. The purpose of learning analytics, for purposes of understanding and optimizing learning and the environments in which it occurs. So what are the twin goals? First, we want to understand teaching and learning, but that's not enough. Once we understand, we should act, using this knowledge to improve teaching and learning. Why focus on environments? Well, basically because learning is a human process. It's deeply context dependent. We won't find universal laws of learning analytics, but instead we'll have to remain vigilant to individual circumstances and responsive to change. You might notice that I skipped one word in this. The word is reporting. I left this for the end because I think it lies at the heart of why we do learning analytics. The sole reason to gather and digest all this information is to inform those who might benefit. Higher education is a critical element of our society. Everyone has questions about it, and everyone deserves answers. Our work has many audiences. It needs to be reported to administrators, to faculty, and to staff, to parents and the public. But our most important audience is clearly our students. We must share what we learn with our students, helping them to better understand and navigate the educational system, which, after all, has their success as its sole purpose. To understand the broader landscape of learning analytics, it's a good idea to start with an article which Phil Long and George Siemens wrote for the EDUCAUSE Review in fall 2011. This piece, called Penetrating the Fog, Analytics in Learning and Education, was written shortly after the first International Conference on Learning Analytics at Knowledge, LAC 2011, which was held in Banff, Canada. Our definition of learning analytics was developed for that meeting. In this paper, Long and Siemens embed the emergence of learning analytics in a larger landscape of business intelligence and data science. They recognize that the tendency of higher education to rely heavily on tradition and make decisions based on personal experience and an uncritical gut feeling is a problem. They stress the importance of the opportunity which digitally mediated education provides. Analysis of this data can give us an evidence basis for decision making and serve as the foundation for systemic change. Long and Siemens connect learning analytics to the world of big data. And they're right to point out that data is a point of or on the path to value generation for organizations. The same forces which are sending transportation and medicine and government and the commercial world to data science are acting in education as well. Learning analytics emerged amidst an explosion of interest in big data across a wide array of fields, and one example of this interest was this June 2011 McKinsey Global Institute report on big data. One day, learning analytics will involve challengingly large and complex data sets, and the full array of data science tools will be needed. But the practical learning analytics that we're exploring in this course is a simpler thing. Student record data sets are large, but manageable. They're complex, but comprehensible. Examining student record data in detail is a first very practical and important step toward a more deeply transformed future. After noting a few of the challenges that lie ahead, Long and Siemens conclude their article on a positive note, saying that learning analytics can penetrate the fog of uncertainty around how to allocate resources, develop competitive advantages, and most important, improve the quality and value of the learning experience. This early view of learning analytics turned out to be pretty prescient, mentioning many of the directions that the field has developed in over the last 4 years. Now for a few personal comments. Long and Siemens, in their article, make much of the distinction between learning analytics and academic analytics, stressing the focus of the former on learners, while the latter involves analysis at the institutional level. Personally, I hesitate to make this distinction. Student learning is too deeply embedded in institutional structures. It's impossible to appreciate appropriately the student experience without access to both the micro experience of an individual homework problem and the macro experience of progress from admission to degree, of financial aid, of admissions. Analysis of data at all these levels is necessary for supporting students. So for me, learning analytics is the analysis of data about higher education at all levels. Second, this article makes mention of predictive modeling. I've written elsewhere about the unfortunate emergence of this term, which I feel is kind of inappropriate for higher education. When we create a predictive model, what we actually do is examine data from the past to see how antecedents were related to outcomes. When we examine carefully what has happened in the past, we learn from experience. Results like these only predict the future if nothing in the system changes. But changing the system to improve outcomes is the whole goal of learning analytics. When we study the past, we do so not to predict the future, but to change it. Finally, Long and Siemens talk in their article about early warning systems, some of the first applications of learning analytics that emerged. Now, while rescuing students who are about to fail is, of course, a worthy goal, I have always felt that it's too limited. It assumes, in a certain way, that everyone not failing is doing fine and does little to improve their circumstances. I believe the goal of learning analytics should be to improve outcomes for all students. Learning from experience, what others might call predictive modeling, can help us know what to expect from every student. Our goal should be to evoke better than expected performance from every student, from those who enter at risk of failure to the student likely to perform the very best. Every student should benefit from the result of our efforts. I want to talk a little bit about learning analytics as an emerging discipline. Starting around 2010, a group of digital education scholars have come together in an effort to support the emergence of learning analytics as an international movement and perhaps even as a discipline. They launched the conversation by creating the first LAC conference in 2011. This series, Learning Analytics and Knowledge, has continued with annual conferences in Vancouver, in Indianapolis, in Louvain, Belgium, and in Poughkeepsie, New York. These conferences are sponsored by a new professional organization, the Society of Learning Analytics Research, or SOLR. In addition to sponsoring the annual LAC conferences, SOLR has founded a scholarly publication, the Journal of Learning Analytics Research, and organizes occasional professional workshops and summer institutes. Those seeking to know more, or looking for places to discuss or share their own learning analytics work, would do well to explore the offerings of SOLR. The emergence of digitally mediated education enables us to record, analyze, and act on the individual actions of students, faculty, and staff in unprecedented ways. This new reality has opened the door to many exciting opportunities to better understand and improve learning. Because this more comprehensive view into the actions of individuals is so new, it's also given rise to important ethical concerns. How can we be sure that our work in learning analytics upholds the ethical standards of our community? Handling this issue wisely is one of the most important challenges we face in delivering on the benefits which learning analytics promises, and it's our topic for the next segment.